All right, this is super interesting. Yesterday on the program, The View, there was a confrontation between two former Trump staffers, the very well-known Kellyanne Conway and the slightly less well-known Alyssa Farah Griffin. They both previously worked for Trump at different points in time. This is a complete train wreck of a conversation where they start going at each other. Let's just jump into it, and then we'll discuss, because it is fascinating.
Do you want to acknowledge something you said last segment? I remember flying on Air Force One in October of 2020, and two very senior advisors to the president, Dave Bossie and Corey Lewandowski, turned to me and said, we would be winning this race if it was Kellyanne running the campaign. So I think that there's some real truth to the direction it went the second time around, and that perhaps you having a more senior role would have changed that. But I have to ask you something. We served together briefly in the White House my second time. I admired you the first time when I was working for Pence. You were very helpful to me.
What happened the second time?
Oh, the second time? No, I just meant I looked up to you. We were in more comparable roles. I was in more junior role the first time. I broke with the president ahead of January 6th when the big lies started being shared. I resigned in December 4th, and I spoke out after January 6th when I saw a violent mob assault the Capitol.
Is there a question in here?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you...
Is there a question in here? So it starts to get testy, and Kellyanne clearly doesn't like the direction this is going.
Still defend him? Do you still think he could be a good president after he tried to overturn our democracy?
Okay, so I left 3 months before you did for my children. I have 4 of them. And I said less drama, more mama, and that's exactly what I did. I think you stayed a whole month after the election that you were having a problem with. But that's...
I wanted to help my junior staff get jobs. I stayed for 3 weeks
I think people should know that, because I haven't seen you since you've changed. But I want to say this to you.
I didn't change. Just to be clear, I didn't change. I swore an oath to the Constitution.
You get to talk here every day.
I swore an oath to the Constitution, not to Donald Trump.
I know, but Alyssa, I know that you've... Right, as we all did. As we all did, but, and I appreciate that. I think there was a lot wrong with the 2020 campaign. And I think in addition to that, afterwards, your former boss, Mark Meadows, who was a terrible chief of staff, the man did not match the moment.
Look at this. This is just everybody pointing the finger at each other for what went wrong. This is the rats abandoning the ship.
A global pandemic, a re-election campaign.
Neither did Donald Trump.
Excuse me, protests after George Floyd's murder. He didn't match the moment at all, and didn't take advice from people who had been there.
But do you think Donald Trump matched the moment?
And then he allowed supplicant after sycophant after showman to come before the Resolute desk and promise the president that was the day they were going to find more votes in Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania.
So this is fascinating, because Kellyanne is basically saying it was Mark Meadows' fault that Trump ended up believing all this stuff about the big lie. It wasn't Trump himself. Now, of course, personal responsibility. If this story is true, isn't it Trump's responsibility ultimately to vet whether Mark Meadows is really telling him the truth?
Her question, we don't disagree that Mark Meadows was unhelpful on January 6th.
I was on ABC, so I'll answer your question. Maybe you missed it. I was on ABC live on January 6th. And George Stephanopoulos. And I said, people have to get out of the Capitol. What are you doing there? Why have you reached the Capitol? What is going on?
Okay, but you still sound, no, but you're still supporting Donald Trump now.
Live on January 6th. Alyssa, if you're saying that somehow you think we're supposed to think that you've seen the light and not just see your name in lights, that's not fair. What do you mean I'm still supporting him?
You're not answering the question. How is this man qualified to be president if he incited?
He's not the president. Joe Biden is.
I know, but you're talking about maybe a second term. You've never denounced Donald Trump. That's when he incited a violent mob that attacked the U.S. Capitol.
I did that day. First of all, I didn't.
But then you went right back to him.
Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to move on, because we're going to do me a favor, because we don't have as much time as we did. So do this.
I did like working with her.
I'm sorry, Kellyanne, don't go on.
I was on ABC News on January 6th.
Joy,
people get the hell out of the Capitol.
Ask your question.
And I don't want the 74 million Biden voters.
This is unfortunate, but we're going to go if you can't let her do the question.
Okay, it's just really a follow-up to that question.
So a complete and total train wreck. And listen, there's a lot of kind of posturing here. In her new book, Kellyanne Conway tells some complicated stories about her involvement, and everybody now is essentially trying to rewrite history in the way that most advantages them. But what is very clear is that everybody's pointing fingers at each other, and just a complete train wreck of a View episode. Interesting to see. As I've said many times before, I believe that the secret to personal finance, and it's not really a secret, isn't about timing the market or picking individual stocks. It's basically asset allocation. And in order to determine asset allocation, you've got to know all of the different assets that are out there. That's why I joined a community called Alts, and we asked them to be a sponsor. Alts is a newsletter that makes the world of alternative assets accessible to anyone, even if you're new to it. Alts does the research on alternative assets that no one else is doing right now, and they break it down for readers in a way that's nuanced and it's easy to digest and honest, and provides you with just a ton of valuable insight into what assets are there. And this could be baseball cards, collectibles, music rights, comic books, video games. The Alts newsletter demystifies these investment markets for you. Their recommendations have a track record that you can check out on their website. And you can also learn about the Alts One Fund, which contains a blend of alternative assets, including collectibles and art and music rights and the things that I've mentioned. You can find that and the free newsletter at davidpakman.com/alts. The link is down below.